Hello, hello. I trust everyone had a very enjoyable, pleasant lunch. Now we get welcome back for the third part of the SBR session, which is regarding probabilistic data matching. Joseph Mathasinga is the chair. He is a statistician and project officer from the Asian Development Bank, and he currently leads data development and statistical capacity building throughout the Asian regions. He's formerly of Statistics Canada, where he led work in specialising in SNA and input-output tables. He has substantial experience in the region, including a master's from Queen's in Canada. And I would also like to welcome the two paper authors, Nefrana from Statistics Indonesia and Ghoslan Ashani from Iran. Please take the chair.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. In the last two sessions, we talked about various aspects of statistical business registers, and we had some interesting discussions following interesting presentations. In a perfect world, we would have perfect information to set up as well as update statistical business registers. As we all know, unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world, and we will have to deal with imperfect as well as partial information to set up as well as update SBRs. So today in this session, we will be hearing from two of our colleagues who will walk us through their experiences in updating SBRs using partial information. I would request you to hold your questions until both presentations are done. So first, may I invite Ms. Nefriana from Indonesia to present her paper on using Google Maps to update SBR.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Nefriana, one of the members of the SBR development team in Statistics Indonesia. I'm going to present my presentation titled The Use of Google Maps APA for Optimizing the Matching Process in SBR System. I did this research with my friend Irene Kamarati Arsiani. BPS has been developing the SBR system since 2013, and until now, we have our SBR system. The data came from three sources. The first one is from the subject matter areas business directories. The second one is from administrative data collected by district offices. And the third one is from profiling. And in the near future, we will also have the Economic Census 2016 data and also from Indonesian Investment Coordination Board data. In Indonesia, as mentioned earlier by Bu Lin, we have no system for single identification number for the business in Indonesia. So we built a matching feature to prevent duplication of the business data by ensuring that when we add the new business, the business are not already in our SBR system. Unfortunately, based on experience and on observation, we found that the match business were not ranked in the first rank in the most similar business, and sometimes it loads slowly. Some experiments have been done to overcome this problem, but I think we can still improve the matching feature. And here we propose the use of Google Maps APA to improve the matching feature. Before, I want to describe how our matching program works. First, for each incoming data, the system will find 25 the most similar business in SBR. And then the operator will inspect its similar companies, and if in the 25 most similar companies there is no same business with the incoming data, then the operator can add the incoming data to the SBR's database. Otherwise, the incoming data will be matched with one of the similar business because they are actually the same business. The operator can replace the old data with the new one, or keep the old data, or edit the old data with the reference of the incoming data. It depends on the quality of the both data. So here's our methodology. The first step is we prepare for the population and also the sample for its population. The first population is businesses in Indonesia. Currently, we have 1,019,000 business in our database. And then the second population is businesses in province of Jakarta. The reason why we choose the businesses in province in Jakarta because it is the capital city of Indonesia. The proportion of the business in this province is high, and then we assume that the Google data will be based in the city. And then to Google Maps geocoding API, we send our request by sending the name and address of our SBR company. And the Google Maps geocoding API will send back the response. The response are the geolocation, the latitude of longitude of its company, and also the formatted address. The formatted address given by the Google Maps geocoding API is relatively more complete rather than the address in our SBR system. With this data, we use Solr. Solr is a retrieval information technology that we can use freely, and we use distance formula. We try to calculate the Euclidean distance for its incoming data with every business in our SBR system. With that, we can do the matching process automatically, not matching process automatically, and the rest will be in the manual process of matching. The automatically matching will be done if there are similar business, the name and address are very similar, and the distance is very close. And for not matching, it will be done automatically if the most similar business, the name are very different and the distance are very far away. The rest will be done with manual matching. So we had done at least 10 scenarios for our research with 4 criteria. The first criteria is the top ranked similar business. This is the number of the most similar business that we check. And then the second criteria is the upper threshold. This is the threshold for the Euclidean distance of the incoming data with the businesses in the SBR database so that we can say if they are actually close enough or not. And the third one is the lower threshold. This is the threshold for the Euclidean distance of the incoming data with the businesses in the SBR database so that we can say if they are actually far enough or not. And the last is the address we use. It's about the choice. If we want to use the initial address we have in our SBR database, or else we can use the formatted address as the response from the Google Maps API. And here's the result. Let's see on the right side. On the right side, we have the data about number of automatically matched. This is number of automatically not matched, and for the manual process. To decide which scenario is the best, of course, we want the scenario to have the highest number of automatically matched and the highest number of the business that automatically not matched, and the least number for the manual process. Here, we can see that the best might be scenario C and D, the blue one and the green one. The scenario C, the criteria is as follows. The top ranked similar business are the business that have similarity score not less than 5 to the first ranked similar business and have upper threshold 1 meter. So if it is less than 1 meter, we can say that it's probably in the same business. And then the lower threshold is 200 meter, or we can say that the most similar business that have more than 200 meters distance from the incoming business, it means that they are not matched. And the criteria for address is the formatted address we use from the Google API. And the scenario D, the top-ranked similar business are the business that have similarity score not less than 10 to the first-ranked similar business. And the upper threshold it is also 1 meter. The lower threshold is 200 meters. And the address we use is the formatted address we get from the Google Maps geocoding API. However, we can still see here that it tends that the more automatization we can do, it is positively correlated to the mistake of the misclassification for both automatically matched and for automatically not matched. So let's move to the next population. The next population is for the businesses in the province of Jakarta. And here, let's see again in the right side. We try to find the best scenario. The best scenario will be the scenario that have the number of the automatically matched the highest, and then the highest number of automatically not matched, and the least number for the manual process. Here, the scenario again is the scenario C and D. But the difference is that here, the number of wrongly automatically not matched is relatively small. And even in our experience, the operator, when they do manually matching, they still do the mistakes. So this number still can be forgiven for the automatically not matched, but not with the automatically matched. Here we can show that the use of the Google API for helping us on matching is high potential on doing the manual not matching. The other result is as follows. The first one, the average range for the match business is 1. It means that the match business is exactly in the first rank. Different with our old methods, the several match business rank sometimes in 2, 3, or sometimes more than 20. And for the average time, we also have some big improvement. Before this way, the average time to do the matching for its incoming business is 7.18, but now it is only 0.035 seconds, so it's a lot of improvement here. And next, let's briefly review about what's the reason behind the misclassification. The first one is that we have existing business in SBR as business A. And then we have incoming business, business B. The business B should have been not matched because it has no match business in our existing SBR database. But Google Maps geocoding API return the same address, latitude and longitude for both the existing business and incoming business. And they have relatively similar name. So our matching system match this business where it should have been not matched. The second one is the case of wrongly automatically matched when the incoming business should have been matched with another business. For example, there is business A and business B. They are located in different locations. And incoming business A should have been matched with the existing business A. But the Google Maps geocoding API returned a wrong address, latitude and longitude for the incoming business. And our system matched the incoming business with the existing business B wrongly, because they have similar name also. The next case is for wrongly automatically matched, where the incoming business should have been matched with another business. This is the fact that two businesses, A and B, in our SBR system are located in the same building. And they have very similar name because actually they are under the same enterprise group. The incoming business is actually the same with business A. The system should have been matched the incoming business A with existing business A. But because Google Maps geocoding API return the same address, latitude, and longitude for the three business, the system matched the incoming business A with existing business B because the names are also so similar. The last case is the wrongly automatically not matched. In fact, the incoming business has a match with an existing business. For example, this existing business A has a match with incoming business A, but the Google Maps geocoding API return the different address, latitude, and longitude. So the system not match the incoming business and add that incoming business to our SBR system. This is the conclusion. For business Indonesia population, we still found some businesses that wrongly matched should have been not matched or matched with another business, and wrongly not matched should have been matched with a business. And the second one for the business in province of Jakarta, We found that the automatization for not matching is effective, but for the automatically matching, we still have not found a way to avoid the problem. We hope that Google will improve the data. The approach on using Google Maps API on doing automation for flagging business as not match is a success in the experiment for business in province of Jakarta. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nefriana. It's quite encouraging to see organizations like the BPS Indonesia is taking initiative to use modern technology to improve economic statistics, and in this case, through improving the business register. So we move on to the next presentation by Ms. Guslan from Iran. She will be talking to us about their experiences with using administrative data in updating the SPR.
Using fuzzy merge in merging different framework of administrative and register data and high records, and also automated of ISIC to the database that have a description of activity with using SAS function. Next slide. Okay. Which one?
No.
One of the main problem in under-coverage and over-coverage of statistical framework that can lead to biases in data and its related indexes, and these biases can lead to decreasing the quality surface of index and analysis of planning which is performed based on them. Therefore, preparing framework with compiled coverage in survey and control and improve the quality of survey census sampling is necessary, and statistical agency of country have a short-term, mid-term, and long-term plan for the achieving reducing statistical inconsistency and information overlap due to lack of integration. Full coverage of statistical unit in most cases. Excuse me. Full-time coverage, connection of different registers to each other in their planning and strategy. This technique can be effective in short-term and mid-term planning because the register database of execute agency has lack of ISIC, no unique identifier, and lack of existence or appropriate cover rates for the link of database such as postal code, national ID, or legal entity in all of the database, and the only variable that is common in the register database of agency is the name of the manufacturing or the other variable of other field. Fuzzy merge technique is the main application of fuzzy merge of comparing value from each type, and especially text value that shows similarity in this compare with similarity rate, including expected application for this method such as comparing the file of statistical units framework and identifying duplicate record, integration of administrative and register database from various agencies, especially that database that have lack of unique identifier, with using the other items such as the name of manufacturing, addresses, and so on. The allocation of ISIC to the database that have a description of activity. The allocation of ISIC, the database that have a description of activity, is so important because it provides a comprehensive framework within which economic data can be collected and reported in a format that is designed for purpose of economic analysis. Decision taking and policy making, the classification structure represents a standard format to organize detailed information about the state of an economy according to economic principles and perceptions. One of the advantages of using the COMPGD SAS function is that there are no limitation in the amount of record reviews, especially in the database with a high volume and records. Advantage of using this technique, quick access to timely information, ability to provide official statistics on level and shorter time period, reducing statistical inconsistencies and information overlaps due to lack of integration, saving resource and cost less than other survey. Complete coverage of statistical unit in most cases covers full time. The register connect to each other without unique code, reduce the response time by eliminating to compact the survey. Integration of linkage variable executable organizations such as zip code, sharing gas, electricity, and ID code identifier, industrial business unit, and social security identifier in database framework Statistical Center of Iran. Issues related to administrative register. Twist of administrative register that execute organization. Incomplete manufacturing establishment covered the administrative register of execute organization. Not a unique identifier business, lack of legal addresses, postal code for administrative register. Error information content framework in the execute organization. Data are messy, misspelled name, character are deleted or only partially recorded. Lack of uniformity in the definition of concept and definition manufacturing between the versus the execute agency. Lack of IC code within the execute organization. Proposed solution. Updating framework based on administrative register integration, prioritization of the database for organizing manufacturing for its comprehensive database connection. Identifying information item of each database, identifying relevant concept and definition and unique identifier, and each registers get the first version of the data offline, refine, execute administrative register, integration register, collected using the technique of fuzzy merge. If needed to implementation for checking validation in the province of the modified proposal to improve the coverage and quality of information. Matching process. Data standardizing and cleaning data set standardization is a necessary processing step for all data be linked to via fuzzy record linkage. Remove common words for text strings such as establishment name, which are common from questionnaire. You may want to ignore common words like firearm, establishment, company, factory. If you remove a word like firearm, the company, any remaining differences will be emphasized. Here is an example using the term word function to remove all occurrence of a word. Remove all special character, remove all spaces, remove leading and trailing spaces, remove extra spaces with a single space, search for all, replace a string. Remove splitting up, it is very big challenging for the process for wide versus long data sets. To give an idea of size and project is considered large when it involves millions of records and pairs. For example, a project that has a 20 million record for table A and table B and generate some 300 million possible pairs is considered large. The G-Link team therefore looked into problem and found a solution to these complex challenges. The old saying, divided and conquer, was the perfect approach to developing that solution. The task separating a table is automatically taken on by system. The user needs only tell the system how much data a subtable should contain. And this program is a solution to this complex challenge. Matching data, implementing the basic matching methodology, identifying comparison strategy, which variable to compare, number comparison algorithm, ensuring computational feasibility of the test, estimating necessary parameters, definition of match variable, must contain relevant information, must be informative, distinguish power. Combining different data sources must be done on the basis of name, addresses, and other identifiers. This identifier will not always match even when they refer to same individual or entity. This is a standard problem often called fuzzy matching. It is frequently used to fuzzy merging of two data sources. The essence of a standard solution is to compute a distance based on the differences between the two identifiers. If the distance is small, then two identifiers are assumed to be substantially the same. The same techniques can be used to look of approximate match within one data source. This paper introduces some method for building your own application and tuning it for a specific task. SAS has a number function designed to compare and strings and determine the degree of their similarity of difference. For more general problems, you can use SAS function like compGED, compLEV, speeds, and Sondex. Which function is based on fuzzy matching? SAS documentation characterizes the strengths and weakness of this function. compGED compute generalized edit distance, summarizing the degree of differences between two text strings. compLEV is faster but less comprehensive in its evaluation and not as generally useful for text string matching. Speed is slower. Sondex and are primarily intended for English language text string and encode the sound a text string represent. Based on these characteristics and some experimentation, compGED is the best function to fuzzy matching. compGED has the two required arguments and two optional arguments. These first two required arguments are the text string to compare. The third argument is an optional cutoff value. If the two input strings are very dissimilar, you may not care how dissimilar they are to make the comparison process much more efficient. Comparison are stopped whenever the distance is above the cutoff. The fourth argument is an optional string of modifier. Among other things, you can say I to ignore case differences and L to remove leading blanks. Here are some examples of how to use the compGED and the result it produces. If the strings are identical, then the compGED output distance is 0. A higher distance indicates more differences than a lower distance. Sometimes you don't have enough information to know which pairs are matched and which are non-matched. So these boundary distance are estimated. If you can estimate these two boundary distance, you can assign each potential match to one of four categories: exact match, high similarity, average similarity, weak similarity. It's a simple code put here. And the result, is a Persian name for manufacturing name. We started then 2010 to unique upgrade manufacturing framework based on registration data of the Central Bank, Ministry of Industry, Mine and Trade. And this year was based on Iran Social Security Organization framework. The process has been long and costly for SCI compared to traditional methods of implementation, updating using semi-automatic fuzzy merge technique. This table showed compare the number of working days, labor, and the cost of two methods. Traditional method need 70 days, but mixed traditional method and fuzzy merge need 36 days. traditional method need 96 number of experts and enumerator, but in a mixed traditional and fuzzy merge need 46 expert. Expenditure in traditional method to $100,000 need, but expenditure for mixed model is $99,000. After matching framework between SCI and Iran Social Security Organization, find 9,000 exact match and 4,200 high similarity, find 2,800 average similarity, 100 weak similarity, 15,000 very weak similarity. And framework matching between SCI and Ministry of Industrial Mine and Trade. Find 28,000 exact match, 700 high similarity, find average similarity about 200, 4,000 weak similarity, and 9,000 very weak similarity. We cannot say for sure that the differences between administrative register framework to the under coverage and over coverage. After of expert reviews, you find some manufacturing administrative register is common, but with different name. Different banks have been registered for the following reasons, such as name of manufacturing on signboard manufacturing has been recorded, name of manufacturing based on register of companies, name of manufacturing based on stamp manufacturing, do not update it when the manufacturing names may be changed to the name of the manufacturing authorization. The manufacturing is disabled and the database is not removed. Manufacturing change from industrial to non-industrial but remain in the database. Updating framework has advantage for organization can be followed. Access to IDS database for execute agency, integration manufacturing centralized in SCI and assign unique identifier for industrial establishment through the matching of data center file with the social security file can be implemented as well as being active manufacturing establishment through the matching files with the Statistical Center of Iran with the Energy Power Ministry as an important data. Electricity power of the manufacturing establishment is gathering by a register-based system by electricity power company. In regard to this data, it is possible to determine the active manufacturing establishment to consumption of water and electricity to obtain as well as being active in manufacturing establishment based on the consumption of electricity and water. Coding ESCAP, it is use this method standardization, standard code assignment to set up categories for classification database, execute organization through technique fuzzy merge. Determination strategy encoding method. Centralize and decentralize. Where are the records for the decentralized execute? Are there transfer records to the center of confidentially? Yes, they are. Transfer can do with the confidentially encoding operation to return them. What is the volume of record? Unknown. For each of the coding operation is required only once. No, because of the operation system on execute agency information database are changing, therefore the need to encode the new information. The initial volume database can be substantial, but then volume and operation required for encoding is not impressive. Have a problem. Okay. The high number of organizations unknown. All organizations face the possibility of having the coding in the system, need coding expert, and blah blah are limitation. The need of a centralized coding steps: receive and refining register file, execute organization review of understanding of the characteristics of data and registration data to database, preparation algorithm coding scheme for record prepared by the group standard dictionary definition of keyword, and find the appropriate record a method of preparation based on keywords most related description of activity. Review existing keywords and keywords that determine the condition for the development of the considering the frequency as companies post for a week. A coding assessment by experts responsible for issues related to office. Implementation allocated ISIC algorithm as database description of activity without activity code in the software says a week after the delivery of keywords. The allocation of ISIC the database that has a description of activity to be in entire post-company file recorded. Post-companies file have 4 million record, about 3,900,000 have a description of activity, and about 63,000 lack of description. Output the allocation of ISIC to database with fuzzy merging. 3,300,000 exact allocate ISIC, and about 100,000 high similarity allocation ISIC, and 500,000 invalid. Point of for invalid such as description of activity that are without meaning, and some of them are ambiguity, only write company, fire and factory, shop. The result allocation of ISIC to the database post company is so impressive because about 97% to allocate ISIC to database with this method. Have compared the number of working days, labor, and cost of two traditional method needed 250 days, but semi-automated needed only 20 days. Traditional method needed 60 number of experts and enumerator, but is a new method needed only 7 experts. Expenditure in traditional about $300,000, but is a new method only $2,000. Conclusion: no single approach to fuzzy matching will automatically slow all type of problem to handle all types of input. Fuzzy matching is an iterative process of matching followed by review of result and changing to the matching algorithm. These steps are repeated until you are satisfied with the result or no further improvement can be made. There are always likely to be some pairs which cannot be definitely classified as match or non-match.
Point to that computer.
Another computer.
Okay.
I think no. The COMPGD function calculates a distance that quantify the difference between two text strings. Pre-processing of the text string and post-processing of the distance can improve the ability to distinguish between match and non-match. To sum up, a statistical register system for the register name manufacturing to be more careful for naming, and also descriptive activity manufacturing should be use the standard and the same procedure in the relevant organization. It is better to be used of more repetitive description activity in the database for preparation the more accurate dictionary. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Gursan. As we have seen this morning, Iran has done a commendable job in bringing into the statistical system as much administrative data as possible. Not only that, but also using sophisticated mathematical and statistical techniques to update SBR. So we can open the floor for questions. First, we will have questions for our current presenters. Then we will invite all our presenters to come up here so that you can have enough time for questions. Yes, please. Yeah.
I have a question for you, Indonesia, using the API from the Google Maps. Basically, Google Maps API is based on the user provider, right? It means that any public that put up a geotag on each locations, and then you will basically take the feed from the masses and put up into your system, right? I'm trying to get it right, if I'm right on this. Okay, in what method did you verify back all those masses feed to your SBR before you put it into your system? Which one is right, which one is not right? Though you have said you put up an algorithm, okay, this is right, this is not right, but what methods of you to verify that, okay, this establishment is here? Can you further elaborate on that? Thank you.
We could take a few more questions for Indonesia before. Oh, yes, please.
Thanks, Joseph. I'm Jonathan Koo from the Bureau ABS, Australian Bureau of Statistics. Thanks to both presenters. I think that, as Joseph said, using like new techniques, in particular probabilistic matching, is something that is a challenging area, because it's something that I guess we don't do on a regular basis. There's actually a framework which used to use probabilistic matching, which has been established many years ago. In fact, it's Joseph's old boss, Ivan Faligi, who wrote a paper, I think in the 60s, that actually went through a formal mathematical framework to go through that. I think, without going into the details here, one of the challenges that in establishing that framework is you have a number of fields that you're looking to match, and there's, I guess, sort of two elements that would be worthwhile to, I guess, for both presenters to comment on. One is that each of the fields will have a relative weight in terms of how important it is to match or not match. So what I mean by that is that if you match on the company name, it probably is more important than if it matches on part of the address field. So I'd be interested to hear from the presenters as to whether they weighted the fields that they were looking to match in different ways, like for different components. And I think that we talked, I think in particular the presentation from Iran talked about some of the challenges around actually cleaning and getting data so that it is able to be matched. The second question is around, I guess, how you actually determine some of those. I think we're talking about cutoffs in terms of when you decide something is a match, when you decide something is a not match, and when you decide something is in between those two fields. So basically, it needs some more clerical intervention. Pragmatically, I think that you want to try to minimise that as much as possible, but in reality, the closer you get to those two fields so that you minimise the amount that you need to look at manually, the more chance there's going to be of mismatches. So I'll be interested to hear from the presenters as to how they balance those two elements. Thank you.
So I'll take one more question. Yes, please.
Hello, Övünç Uysal from Turkstat. It's not a question, but a humble contribution to the delegate of Iran. I haven't worked on text mining field, but I had a chance to explore an additional program to base SAS Enterprise Miner. You probably know of. It's specialized for text mining and works on a keyword library logic, and it's very useful. I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
So let's give a chance for our presenters to respond to these questions before we proceed with more questions. Could you?
Thank you. For the first question, whether we can verify that an address is correct or wrong. Actually, this is the problem that's caused some misclassification in our research. But we have a plan. Actually, Google Maps API consists of many APIs. One of them is the Google Places API. We can also view the review of the people who have checked in on that places. So if the reviews are positive or confirming that that place is correct, maybe we can use that as a way to verify an address in the future. And then regarding about the weighting, yes, actually we have tried to weight the variable in our old method of our matching with the full text search, and we use the most important variable are the name and the address, and the name variable have a slightly more weight than the address, and maybe we can use this in our new approach also. And to select which scenario is the best, maximizing the number of the automation but not misclassification. Actually, yeah, it's difficult, but we try to choose the scenario that for now the least mistakes for now, but we are still improving our approach, our system. Thank you.
Would you like to respond to Jonathan's question?
No.
Any other question? Yes, please.
Thank you for the chance. My name is Amanda Pratamaputra and I'm from Statistics Indonesia. Actually, I have a question for the panelists from Iran, but if she don't want to answer my question, so okay. Actually, what you've done in your paper, in general, have the same goals with our job in Indonesia. We also working in natural language processing and text mining in order to do some classification for IC codes based on their description. Actually, I want you to explain more in general. How could you know what is the right IC code for some description of some of activity or description, something like that? Because in your paper, I've read in your paper, it's not clear enough for me. and hopefully you can share a little knowledge for everything in this room. Thank you.
Do you need time to respond? Or you want to respond now?
For allocation to ISIC, the database without ISIC, we first step prepare dictionary such as cement, such as steel, with fuzzy matching or probabilistic matching. When record find cement, allocate IC code, and maybe excuse me, I change my example. Food productions in IC4 have 10 digit 10, 2 digits, it is 10, yes, in sector manufacturing. With me, create a dictionary food equal to 10 digit ISIC. Searching in a record, every record find food production allocated 10. Need more explain?
Okay. It means that you already have a library, some library for the codes, and then you just find which one is the best match for the code, and then you try to allocate for the.
Before allocation is important step. It is we must create accurate dictionary. Accurate dictionary such as cement have a ISIC code, and food have a ISIC code, and refiring have a ISIC code. But for instance, in my country, I have a 9 refiner with a different name, and every have a database that have a name manufacturing and have a descriptive for activity this manufacturing, but without ISIC. Every after writing this coding program, which says in our program this every record find refiring with a different name allocated ISIC, I think 90-20 for refiring manufacturing without pay attention names refining.
But I'm afraid it's another question for the Indonesian. You used SAS and particular parts of SAS in your for your analysis of your matching. Was that just because you had SAS there on your desk, or did you do a review of the various options available for matching software, and which caused you to decide to use this particular program and these?
This matching linkage, just fuzzy matching or probabilistic linkage, it is practical, and it is difficult. We explain only for speaking. It is need showed you with a program, and
No, the question is, why did you use SAS? Why did you use SAS?
Because function in SAS is very power and have a old history. Is you know, is a SAS program is power than R than Python. Maybe it's a very expensive software, but in Iran I use in Craig software. It's not very expensive for our.
Hi Joseph, I was just going to say, given that it's now 3 o'clock and we've got 45 minutes left, it might be time to invite the three previous authors, please up to the table. So can Syed, Zhu Ting and Luin please go back on the rostrum, and at which point we can have more questions regarding the earlier papers presented, because they were unable to get an appropriate amount of time. So I'm sure we'd love to interrogate you two some more, but I think everyone else deserves the time as well. Yes, Joseph, can you please stay there?
If everybody interested have my program, I don't have no problem. I can you. But in full paper, I give in coding complete coding program.
Just give us a minute so for the presenters to settle down. Should Matthew also be here?
So just to the audience, anyone can ask any questions about any of the papers so far, just to make sure we've all had an opportunity to discuss them all, because I'm aware for the first two sessions people were quite keen to continue asking questions and they didn't get a chance to. I think we're going to have to institute a new policy, only one Matthew amongst the presenters. So Oxford policy will make their choice and send one Matthew, please.
Okay, let's proceed with the questions.
This is not a question, actually, from the five presenters. Basically, the problem lies with the NSOs in determining the I6 for each new establishment that they have come to their database. This I'm speaking from my experiences. What we have now, that it will be a lot of effort for the NSO to verify which activity basically is this business is doing. What we did in Malaysia, we put it in the front end rather than at the back end of it. We have it for each businesses that need to register must have this I6 at front end where they want to register. So when it comes to our database, then we already know which activity they are. And when it comes to the census or surveys, just need to verify, oh, this is the right one, or this is not the right one. If you to put it at your back end, then as Indonesia has 56 million establishment, there will be a lot of effort for the NSOs to dwell with that. There are a huge task. For me, it's a huge task. So to China, they have a few hundred millions. Then it will be a very huge task for the NSO to be able to give the best. But what we did is through negotiations with these authorities, that we put it in the front end. You want to register? Kindly use this I6 to register, so that it is at the end of the day, when it comes to you, it's just a simple verification of a phone call. We'll be able to settle all those which activity is this establishment or whatever. We did that. We started in 2005. We negotiated until 3 years to have that securities or business to agree to be a mandatory field for each new businesses to register in Malaysia. That's my suggestion.
Does anybody want to share their experiences with inter-organizational cooperation in getting the data in the form that's needed for national statistical offices?
We want to share our experience on how to approach the BKPM, the Indonesia Investment Coordinating Board. Actually, it's like a give and take game. We want to have their data. We want to update every 3 months or 6 months from them. But sometimes they want our microdata, and we can give them that. And it's like, it's more about the negotiation. And in Indonesia, we offer them the other thing, like we offer them the training for the IC classification, and also offer them for the area code classification in Indonesia until to the lowest level, like fillets, and also sub block census code, block census code. Yeah. So yeah.
Thank you. I was going to add a little bit for Australia as well, because again, the cooperation is one of the most important parts of being able to establish good business registers in our experience as well. So most people would be aware, but the tax office is our major source of information, and in a similar way, we work with our colleagues in the tax office to, I guess, try to get as good information as possible on the business register at source. As Mr. Fazrul said, if we can get it at source, then it makes our jobs and lives a lot easier, because we don't essentially have to then estimate what we think it is based on a description. I think again, part of it is also not just about the training, which is obviously important, but also I think demonstrating how that information is useful for their own purposes. So as an example, say in the example with the tax office, giving them an understanding of what information they can potentially use in terms of then linking that with their own information for, say, getting tax breakdowns by industry, etc., is something that our officers that we have. The other part is trying to make sure that we have good working relationships with our partners. So we have outposted officers who work in the tax office that help them both in terms of whether it's specifically around business registers or any other types of issues regarding statistical issues regarding tax data. Those relationships have been very important because they haven't just then led us to, I guess, building up, I guess they've led to other opportunities, so beyond just the business registers. So there've been opportunities to link together other sources of information. So say, for example, ABS has been working on linking employee tax data with employer tax data. So obviously that answers very different statistical questions than an SBR. And certainly those are the experiences that other countries have had. So for example, those types of databases in New Zealand are well established and have been for many, many years. And one of the main reasons why that has been the case is that they have very good working relationships with their tax department. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This morning I just asked Ms. Lien about linkage records. So that's why I asked Ms. Lien because I would like to share the experience in Vietnam. Before that, we also very take time to integrate data from the different data sources. since the Indonesia now you have to use Google KPI to find the name of enterprise and address. Because before that, our survey, we did not follow the stack code to use IDs of enterprise. So when we map with the text data, it's very difficult. We had to use the name of enterprise and address. But the office of enterprise change every year. So address also change. Sometimes we difficult to identify what is enterprise in the text data. So, so for now, we use the text code. We are lucky since the APS tax office covers all data of the whole country, of enterprise and household also. So that's why stack code is the unique key, and we follow that for the survey data. So now that's very easy to integrate. We have the same problem with Iran about the Is Idt. Until now, tax office and also the business registers office, they don't care so much about Is Idt. But for the statistics, this is very important for us. So the code of business activity is maybe wrong, or the one enterprise, they have many activity. So now we have solution that by we provide training to the tax office and business register office, train them how to the coding Is Idt, and also have other solution for the SBR. We use priority to update the SBR because the survey data is a good data source related to the Is Idt code. So we have priority this field to update the SBR. It's our experience.
Thank you. Any other reflections, insights, perspectives on data linkages? All right. Any other questions?
Let's take her question first, I think.
Hello, I want to ask to Ms. Zhuting. I believe your central government were aware of the importance of the single unit identifier. I just want to know, how could your central government force the whole ministries to develop single unit identifier? Was it stated in your statistical law or any another approachment to do the collaboration or something like that? Thank you.
Well, I think it's a quite special case for China because the central government realized the importance to do this thing. And of course, we need a mechanism, working mechanism, how to unite all these departments to work together. I think it's a very important issue. And the State Council first issued a notice to the society that telling people that Now, we are going to do this for the enterprises who are going to register in our system. You don't have to do the things before. We just need to apply for the new license in one window, through one window, and all the staff, some of the staff from these relative administrative authorities will sit together and to cope with the problems they are facing. For example, if you want to register an enterprise in China today, you just have to hand one set of material to the window, and an ISIC code will give to you, and in the meantime, your information will be loaded to the system for this reform, and your information will be loaded and kept in this system. And you needn't to apply for the taxation restriction and other kinds of restriction in the meantime. So you have to do the only thing is to, at the very first beginning. And I think from the very beginning, it's very difficult to work because you have so many relationships to cope with. It's very difficult. But I think it's just a process. Once we try to promote this reform and the society recognize that is good for it, and which turns out the outcome is good, I think the society will accept it. And that's my answer. Thank you.
Is the single unit identifier just for the new establishment who register at 2015 and 2016, or it also includes the previous database? Did you convert the whole? Did you give the single unique identifier for the previous database before 2015? Thank you.
Yes, that's very crucial because we want to promote the ISIC code with full coverage. So the first thing for us to do is for the new enterprises who get registered. And for the existing enterprises, we also have methods for them. If they want to, for example, you have to do some affairs with the government, then you have the chance to contact with those departments. And then the relative administrative authorities will try to contact you and ask you to change your former certificates or licenses, and then a new code will give you too. And we expect that in the end of 2017, all the existing companies or enterprises and the legal entities will be changed the licenses into the new system. Yes.
Sorry. Do you need? Did you release or did you publish a legal framework to elaborate those complications between 2015 and 2016?
We have a working plan.
Okay.
I think it's a regulation, and more like a regulation, but rather a law. That's what we work together to promote this reform, but not a law, not a formal law. Yes.
My understanding is the directive comes from above, and they follow the directive. Right? Any other perspectives on unique identifiers?
Thank you very much. If there is no other question, then I am just going to talk about the SBR, and there were a number of questions raised early in the morning, and also some questions which need clarification were here. The presentations were much elaborative and were clear in their perspective, and also the presenter answered the questions very well. I appreciate them. However, some areas need to be more clearly defined. As we know that SBR, without administrative data, and then for regular updation, the surveys and census, economic census, SBR cannot be updated or upgraded. Earlier in the morning, the administrative data consideration was discussed. In theory, there is something, but in practical, there are a lot of hurdles and obstacles. Administrative data, the different departments have their own objectives, have their own acts and laws. And as we in statistics law, we uphold confidentiality. We are not sharing information with the other departments. Similarly, tax department has their own confidentiality laws. And also other departments, the commerce departments, the industries departments, they have their own laws and their own operative acts and MOUs, and they are standing with their own commitments. Sometimes they are not willing to share the data. So one is there, and also one thing may be noted that earlier in the morning it was said that administrative data, the other department should change their data or their framework so that SBR can be developed in a unique format. How can they change? Because their objectives are different. They have their own objective. Tax department has their own objective. It is not doing work for statistics. And other departments has their own objectives and they are not working for statistics. So they have their own laws, their own frameworks, and what we have to do, we have to get the minimal possible variables data from them and convert that data into our system. Now, whether they will share the data, limited data, they will be willing to share it. But getting the whole system or database from them, never, and in any country, they will never share it. So the limited information could be the addresses, the name, address, and their status, whether this is privately owned or public or private enterprises. So those kind of preliminary information can be shared from them, and maximum number of employees if somewhere is available. In tax department, it is number of employees is not available. So we have, SBR would have its own frame. And if we are thinking of SBR is always there in every department, in every statistics department. Because at the start, SBR is just listing of industries. In one shape, in rough shape or whatever is the case, usually people have their some kind of protocols and they have some listing procedures, and they do have. But in the modern world, the SBR, which is updated through technology, or which has more wider scope, like Indonesia, integrated economic statistical information system. It has very wide scope. And you are going for larger scope, then it would be difficult. You will face many, many difficulties. And then generic system, statistical businesses, process model. So again, it would have a wider framework and wider scope. So achieving an SBR at a broader level would have more difficulties. Even in the developed countries may have problems to go to that extent. Unique identifiers, here it was discussed, unique identifier. Every department has their own identifier for example, somewhere it would be unique, somewhere it may not be different, it may be different. But I'm talking about the unique identifier. We are trying in Pakistan to establish a unique identifier. What we are doing, we are trying to have the geographic code and activity code, ISAC code or product code, CPC code or ISAC code. Three kinds of coding: ISAC coding, product coding, CPC, and then geographic coding. We are trying to have spaces for each coding, and then the establishment number, serial number of establishment. So that will act and that will be identified geographically, by activity, or by product, and will be uniquely identified everywhere in Pakistan. But the thing is that whether the tax department can use this unique identifier or not. So it's not possible for tax people, because the tax department has their own identification number. And with their own identification number, they are committed to be confidential. But for general use, for example, the State Bank is using, or the other departments are using, they can use this unique identifier. So unique identifier strategy is good, but every department may not use it. In inclusion of informal sector, in a very small country, there will be limited informal sector and informal businesses that can be included. But remember, a country like India, a country like Pakistan and Indonesia, which has 200 or 300 million people, India 1300 million people. So at the same time, there will be much, much more informal businesses and activities. Incorporating such informal activities is a very hard task. However, in Pakistan, we are trying, because whether is it informal or formal, they are using some kind of commercial electricity. If electricity, they are using commercial electricity, we got list of about 6 million electricity commercial connection. We got those addresses. And those addresses, though the activity is not defined on that because it's just address, we are trying to have a kind of economic census on that electricity connections, giving them a format to fill it, and then through that census or survey, that would be a kind of census, we can gather all those information. If they are using electricity, commercial use, then we will get the information of that activity and that establishment, and that will be incorporated. So there will be a number of informal activities as well, but paying the commercial electricity. So this, we just thinking on that idea, and hopefully we may go with that idea. One thing more, earlier it was said that SBR and the growth, measure of growth.
Dr. John, 2 minutes.
Yeah,
we have a program. We have a program to run.
The things are more important. I was not trying to get in because I was just, if there was no question, then
I agree, but there is one more segment. We need to go for a break, and we have one more segment which is not SPR.
Okay. Two things I would like to explain. And one, the Iranian, on behalf of Iran, I would like to explain Iran Star, right? The business register is not measuring the growth. This is one thing more to be noted. Earlier, it was said that there should be a base year so that the growth can be measured. So business register is just listing of establishment. And all possible establishments should be listed. If there is some establishment left out, one has to try to get that information in. But that is not for the growth purpose. Growth in economic activities like national accounts, GDP growth or other growths, that has their own mechanism. And of course, the SBR, business register data, can be used for growth by the national accounts people so that they can see the number of establishment. The interesting point is that Iran Stars, on behalf of Iran, if you allow me, because I saw the Iran Star, a very Iran structure or Iran business register, or you can say that is well equipped. They had a project of Iran Star. Iran Star is a combination of 4 registers, basically. One is population register, and another is activity register. Population, a person is living in Iran, he is doing something. He would be a student, he would be working somewhere, employee or non-employee or whatever. But he is recorded with activity as well. And the third one is business register. If he is doing some business, then there will be a business activity. And the fourth one is real estate register, where he is doing the work, what property belongs to whom. So these, they have very comprehensive, they had very comprehensive project in which they have established these 4 registers interconnected with each other. And this interconnection is making their business register more stronger. That's why the custom activity is also there, and other activities are also there in the business register, because those all activities have been incorporated in the these 4 registers. So there is a strong interconnectivity, and I'm very much impressed of Iran stars. They have very strong basis. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Regarding with the micro ID, Malaysia has implemented micro ID. Means that this registrations is being recognized by the Inland Revenue, Provident Fund, Human Resource Development, Social Security, and the SME Corporation. It means they are using the same number throughout the 5 establishments that collects the tax, the security payments, and the Provident Fund. They are using the same numbers. It can exist. Basically, it's not a matter of it can't exist, because we're using the one ID. We are started in 2011. One ID for one establishment to use throughout any transaction. So it's easier for the, if it can be implemented, then it's easier for the NSOs to have one ID throughout everything. It already exists, Dr. Jan. It doesn't, things that can be done. They just said, just like by Jonathan said, a little bit of negotiations and persuasions, it can be done. Thank you.
Ideal situations are always there.
I wish to get a few more perspectives. Nilima, would you like to say something? You have been quiet, but you are the expert.
Not quite an expert, but well, in the Pacific, like you can say that the unique identification code or the business number is made up first of the 4-digit, which comprises the year in which the business was registered and the serial number. And for the classifications, we have institutional, ISEC, and we also have a geocode, which sort of allows the businesses to be viewed using a mapping tool. And I think some countries here may be having that as well, but I couldn't get that kind of information. The other thing that was missing from the presentations was the review policy, or, do countries have some sort of a policy when they sort of like consider reviewing the BR, because I think that is important in view of probably changing stakeholder needs and changing IT systems, and then international classifications being revised. So, yeah, the other things probably, I could figure out. Thank you.
We haven't heard much from the Philippines. Would you like to share your experiences or issues, perspectives? No.
In the case of the Philippines, there is an ID system for all the establishments wherein we identify them through a 14-digit number comprising of the industries, the geographic code, and certain alpha check code to uniquely identify them. So that's how we have a numeric ID system for all establishments, so that they should be uniquely identified.
Any other success stories with tax data?
It's not tax data, but it's, well, it is sort of tax data. But this is, as far as business registration goes, this is actually the best I ever saw. And it's a story from the South Pacific in the 90s. And I don't know if they still do this, but in Vanuatu, there is no personal tax, There is no business corporation tax, but every business has to buy a business license every year. And this license has to be displayed on their premises visibly. You know, it's an actual thing. So every business in the country must have a license every year. They must display it on their premises, and it has a number on it, which is unique. And there are different categories of business license depending on the activity. And this is wonderful for statistics. And the things which are interesting about it, though, was firstly, it's not an example from a developed country. It's actually better and more comprehensive than what we have in the UK. And in ways, it's not an example from a developing country. It doesn't rely on modern technology or things we can do now. And it actually didn't arise out of the needs of the purchase of statisticians. So I think that the sort of message from these sort of things for us is that we have to, that the core problems of developing a good business register cannot be solved just from inside the statistics office. The solutions lie outside the statistics office. It's a wider problem than statistics, but also that we must be prepared to look outside and take advantage of whatever is out there and build our systems around that, as well as try and, rather than always try and think of, well, what do they do in this other statistical system in this other country? We must take advantage of what we have where we are. Thank you.
Thank you again from Turkstat. However, I'm not an expert on this field, but when you mentioned success story, I have a knowledge of Turkstat is planning to replace its annual industry and services survey, which is like 200,000 samples and more than $1 million budget survey with the tax data. We haven't finished it yet, but it's very close to be finishing. Thank you.
So we do have just 1 minute.
Just to add to Matthew's comment, we still have that system. Every business has to be registered in the Pacific. So that's a good thing. So anything like sort of businesses that operate from households, they're classed as informal. The other thing is that when we set up business registers, we have a stakeholder meeting or a user meeting, you know, so we invite tax people, business registration authorities, and so we tell them what we're doing, we try and explain things to them, and we ask them to use the classification to classify the business. When they fill in the registration form, a copy comes to the Department of Statistics. So we're doing that for all those countries where we're setting up business registers.
So thank you. In closing, I would like to bring your attention to the scheme, the map, the diagram that the other Matthew put up. He sort of alluded to the role of the political establishment. We are in this region, speaking from experience, at a stage where you need to advocate to the political establishment as well. And often it's a critical component of developing statistics. The role of the multilateral organizations is also to help you with the advocacy effort, in addition to helping you build up the technical capacity. So in closing, I would like to say that we all are all in this together, and let us know the role that we need to play in improving your statistical systems. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph, and thank you all to all the authors and Matthew, whichever one. Matthew Powell, I'm not that bad. We have tea, coffee and refreshments outside. Can we please see you all back at, say, 4:05, just to give you a nice little break, and we'll go back for session 6 with Mr. Fazrul again. Hello, hello. Welcome to the final session for the afternoon. I hope everyone had an enjoyable coffee break and had a good snack. I would like to welcome Mr. Fazrul up again. He's clearly the hardest working man in this, this week. Needs no further introduction. I'd also like to invite Rosini Hassan and Nayang Thai from Malaysia and Myanmar respectively. And I will pass it over to Fazrul.
Okay, thank you. A very good evening, I think. Now it's in the evening. Okay, it's me again. I'm here, I think for the fourth time being here. Okay, this is the last session for today. I'm going to have it from 4 to 5. And basically, today, this time around, we're going to talk, or the papers are going to be on dissemination and communication of statistics. As you all know, right now, one of the things that needed by the NSOs is to have the communication and dissemination strategy. Because communication does not only occur to our clients, but within the agencies, within the organization itself. You have to talk to each other so that everything that needed can be clearly understood by all respective users, agencies, so that what you want to do can be achievable. And we have now a seamless information from the internet. You can have it from the agency's database. It needs to be communicated, not only on verbal, but also on the machine learning, machine language. So as for the dissemination, we have now a new type of user, what they call is Gen Y, millennial person. Okay? They do not read, basically, from books. They want to have 140 characters, the most. They want to look at, they don't like the thick publications, long reports, but we need to reach them. And how? And one of the things, if your website is more than 3 clicks away, they are going to go away. It means that 1, 2, 3, yes, I got it. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you don't get it, just leave the website. That is what they are now. So we, as an NSO, are ready to face this type of users. So without wasting any more time here, I'd like to call Ms. Aung Thai from Myanmar. She is the officer of the price section of the trade division at the headquarters for Central Organization in Myanmar, holds the Masters in Economics, and without any longer, I call her to give a presentation.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nyao Dai from Myanmar. I would like to talk about, I want to thank UNCC for opportunity at this. And today my presentation is advancing and promoting economic statistics, production and dissemination with the effectiveness of NSDS in Myanmar. I would like to talk about the following this outline. I will present a background. Strategic system of Myanmar is basically a decentralized one. CSOA entered the Ministry of Planning and Functioning on a national level since 1952, which many of government ministers set up their own planning and statistics department. CSO combines socio-economic data from public, cooperative, and private sector to disseminate socio-economic statistics. CSO had already distributed the policy briefs to reflect the upcoming new law, which clearly mentions the strategic principle that all stakeholders in the national strategy need to follow. My paper objectives are: the first one is to promote production and dissemination of economic statistics. The second one is to study the effectiveness of the national strategy for the implementation of the NSDS. The final one is to consult the related indicator or economic statistic for SDG. So I would like to talk about NSDS. CSO has been implementing with the assistant of World Bank, ADB, and CSO Coordinator Committee, the strategic objective and priority of the strategic system and proposal activity to strengthen institutional and organizational framework. Myanmar NSDS had divided into two parts. The first one is the core strategy has been done successfully by the cooperation of World Bank and CSO. The last first two is the implementation plan. NSDS strategy straight to produce timely and reliable NSS in accordance with internationally accepted methodological standard. CSO is trying new strategic law to support NSDS critical priority strategic area. The strategic program or NSDS cover the following three program domain. NSDS has been organized by ACE cluster. When I wrote this paper, so NSDS ACE cluster, now our government reorganized NSDS cluster are 10 cluster. So the NSDS cluster are every monthly meeting with stakeholder and line minister and committee member. 10 NSDS cluster, and then CSO has to lead survey coordination and strategic standards, statistics for questionnaires designer, review and assignment on existing survey and strategic standard. Our way forward to meet international standard. This table is showing CSO survey calendar rated economic statistics. The first time Myanmar Business Survey MBS conducted on 2050. Next MBS will be conducted 2017 and 2019. And also Myanmar Living Condition Survey MSCS has been conducted on November 2016 to December 2017 and also SME survey will be conducted by quantitative and qualitative from 2017 to 2020. And also International Cooperation Program, ICP, has been conducted on the second week of May from 2017 to 2019. The new government filed the objective of National Committee for Data Accuracy and Quality of Statistics for developing evidence-based planning and also ensuring effective implementation and monitoring and evaluation cooperation for stakeholder and line minister for data accuracy and quality of statistics. CDHUS tests are to promote the credibility of statistics, to supervise and give direction on survey and strategic activity for the socio-economic development of Myanmar, to coordinate among ministries so that a good strategic system will emerge in various sectors, to give advice and direction for the integration of the NSS, to supervise and provide direction for the management of the initiatives need of survey, to submit a report on the activity of the NSS with international standard in statistics, to give the guidance of NSDA practice deployment with clusters. CSO combined dissemination practice for Myanmar macroeconomics and financial data from Central Bank of Myanmar and Ministry of Planning and Finance for EGDDS data category, with commitment to update regularly missing or metadata. And also the one on CSO website, MNC's Myanmar Information Strategic Information Service both this EGDS data linked with IF NSTV and another CSO website, CSO Stat website. IF is developing guide contain detailed requirements and NSTP requirements. Data dissemination of the CSO file, publication, electronic products, databases, web services, and media for users. So CSO publication are selected monthly economic indicator for monthly, strategic yearbook for annually, MSS websites for Myanmar Strategic Information System, quarterly planning and economic development channel, and the first time, 2017, we published quarterly statistics bulletin, quarterly time series from 2017 to 2015 to 2017. So these figures are showing CSO publication and CSO website MMC. The peer review of Myanmar NSS is based on 70 principles. So the peer review cuts across 4 major things. Things 1 is organization and management of the NSS. Things 2 is the management of the strategic production process. Thing 3 is the assuring quality of strategic output. And the final thing 4 is the dissemination, communication, and use of statistics. So peer review has 12 principles. This showing all are 12 principles. So Myanmar peer review principle follow a UN fundamental principle official statistics and in line with ASEAN community strategic system code of practice. The government of Myanmar has to conduct MDG through the target or SDG to develop social and economic sector by providing the quality of statistics that indicate better data, better life for people of the world. So national strategy for the development of statistics and SDs are in line with regional strategy and global for sustainable development goal. So finding data assessment or SDG, data accuracy and quality of statistics, which is important to support, make better policy, planning, implementing, monitoring, and evaluating for the agenda of the 2030 SDG with an STS cluster, working groups including development partner and line minister to find data assessment. The assessment of finding makes very clear that how we can make the category for improving national data to calculate the SDG indicator. We use code number 1 for indicator is readily available. Code number 2 for indicator is available after a little effort. Code number 3 for indicator is available after more effort. Code number 4 for indicator is not current available, needs new questions and survey. Code number 5 not applicable to Myanmar. Code number 6 not clear, definition to be clarified. And the final one is code number 99 for responsibility or international agency. Stakeholder for the development cooperate with government, private sector, media research institute, NGO, CSO, international organization, INGO, and donor community. So for conclusion, in Myanmar, advancing and promoting economic statistics production is an existing time for the development of economic and the strategic system. A new statistical law has been formulated which strengthens the relations of statistic producer and stakeholder, as well promote quality statistics across governments for NSDS that set a clear path and concrete milestone for developing quality and accurate official statistics in Myanmar. Peer review of Myanmar NSS is the process of transforming the national strategic system into a more efficient and effective system for way forward. So for recommendation, CSO as a national coordinator is working together with government cluster or NSDS as well as with the development partner and private sector to disseminate strategic indicator with international standard. It is necessary to identify the area of need to discuss an organization, the outcoming project, formulate the long-term plan or NSDS with cooperation for improving economic statistics. Consistently, capacity building is necessary for not only CSO but also strategic units of the every sector for promoting and advancing economic statistics. So that's all for my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Yang Tai. It looks that everything has been properly communicated within the agencies. We did a properly committed national strategy for the statistics. You're going to have the new law incoming soon. We have the peer reviews of the NSS, and very ready for the SDGs. I think this is a very commendable effort by the NSO to have all this in place. Then we have the second presenters is from Madam Rusnani, the Principal Assistant Director for the Services Statistics Divisions, responsible for the wholesale retail segment. Without any further ado, I call upon her to give her presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Fazrul. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and good evening. First of all, I want to thank to UNCC because give me opportunity to present this paper and to share the experience in development the interactive portal of distributed trade in Malaysia. Okay, our outline about the introduction. Online data dissemination in DOSM, the development of interactive distributed trade, performance of IDT, challenges and strategy, and last but not least, conclusions. Okay, what to define about the disseminations? So Larry said, define that dissemination is characterized as a produce of discharging measure to different medium, example, printer and media. Explain that effective data dissemination means that statistical agency should fully identify the potential data user community, effectively request their requirements. Therefore, it is essential for the produced data to be accessible, timely, and relevant. Okay, what is IDT? IDT defines the interactive distributed trade portal. Dawson has taken one step further to develop an interactive portal for Malaysia distributed trade statistics. Effort undertaken by Dawson to ensure effective dissemination of distributed trade statistics in response to growing needs of the policymaker and different stakeholders as well as public users through an interactive portal. Okay, a little bit about the online data dissemination in DOSM. We have a Malaysia External Trade Statistic, we call MATS. Malaysia External Trade Statistic Online was developed to provide user the Malaysia External Trade Statistic. Okay, next we have Malaysia Informative Data Centre, or we call MyCDIT. Provide the data is a one-stop information gateway of the social and economic data for Malaysia. Next, we have a population quick info. Those also introduced the population quick info in year 2011 to assist user in obtain population data easier and faster. Next, we also have a social e-atlas. Social e-atlas is web-based GIS application introduced in 2016 that's aimed to show the main theme of the statistic at various geographic levels. Okay, now I go about the interactive distributed trade. Okay, IDT is improvement from traditional data dissemination platform where it is incorporate appropriate technology in disseminating Malaysia distributed trade data online. because this is a first time we do the portal interactive, the distributed trade is like a pilot lah. In developing IDT data from the census DT 2009 and 2014 encompasses the wholesale trade, retail trade, and motor vehicle were used. In present, the data is in the form of interactive chart table that provide facility to user to get the data directly from the portal. The IDT, we give the user data up to 5-digit industry, state level, and also the administrative district will be made available where user can choose code and level of data. User can extract data from IDT 24 hours, and where are they once we can extract data from IDT. Okay, the objective of IDT to disseminate distributed data in more dynamic and user-friendly manners, to provide easy accessible that can be customized data that the user needs, to assist user in searching for the required IDT data live, and to enhance the department service delivery system. Okay, this is about the timeline. We start to develop IDT on February 2016. We've identified the best practice from the other NSO, and also we prepare the proposal and ensure the appropriate variable. Then on March, we prepare the data and determine the theme, design, and what chart we want to present in IDT. Next, in April until August, we start develop the IDT. We also do the proof of concept tableau. IDT, we choose to use the tableau. Okay, next, by September until October, we do the dry test for IDT, and then we do the second proof of concept tableau, and then we also develop an user guide through video to user how to use IDT. And then we do the improvement IDT portal based on dry test IDT, and IDT was go live on 15 December 2016. About 10 months, we go live. We can go live the portal interactive for distributed trade data. Okay, this is a variable. We choose 7 variables was selected to publish in this portal. This is we choose this variable because based on what the user need, the hot variable what the user requests from the past. Okay, like number of establishments, sales value of goods and services, number of persons engaged, paid employees, salary and wages, average salary per month, and also productivity. Okay, this is our IDT storyboard. Okay, in the IDT we have 9 menu or story or dashboard. So for the first menu is introduction, so a little bit about the census and objective the census. Second is a concept and definitions. This is a simple concept we want to explain to users, but furthermore we also do the link to manual IDTS. Okay, this is a performance of distributed trade sector. We have the chart, pie chart, and we have tables. So, okay, what the user can have here, a user can choose what the variable they want, choose what the subsector they want, what the year data they want. So, the chart, if you choose the subsector, chart also is follow what we use. Okay, next, but the performance of wholesale, performance of retail, and performance of motor vehicles. So for the performance by subsector, we give the anti to 5-digit industry. So user can choose what they want. If you want the data for 2008, you can tick data for 2008 only. Okay, this is performance by states. Also, we have a graphic, a map. If you use the one of state, the map is highlights that states, and if you mouse over to state, the data also appear there. Okay, the last is distribution by administrative district. This is visualized. You can see the data, the name of administrative district, where the data, where the number is big is the more establishment. Is the small is the small the establishment. This is visualized. Okay, we also give the how interactive data can help you. Okay, next. Okay, data can be uploaded in CSV format, Microsoft Excel, PDF, and image file. Okay, this is a cross-tab table. User can get the cross-tab table in CSV and Excel. Okay, user also can get full data from IDT in format CSV and Excel. If user want to get the image direct to IDT, they can copy the image. And if user want full story from IDT dashboard, they can load the PDF format. So IDT is very friendly to user. Okay. Okay. Performance IDT, when we when we launch on 15 December, and I get this data on February 2017. So IDT was introduced on 15 compared to the publications. Is more IDT more measure the number attract hits about 1,132 hits in 3 months. Average 373. So what we looked at, the IDT is very effective. Okay, and next a little bit about challenges and strategy in maximize the use of IT technology in data disseminations. First, determining of the theme and design of interactive data and visualize. So its challenges is setting the topic and outline of IDT dashboard. We must understand of the subject and then undertaken officer to officer who are responsibility for DT activity. A second data preparation interview is so the variables of level how to we manage the data to prepare the data is a challenge. And then the addressing data quality, data visualizer will only prove to be value to in the data quality is assured. To data governance or data management process must be placed to ensure the data is clean and quality. Okay, last, maintain the cost and special expertise. Okay, our conclusions. IDT an interactive and user-friendly database as revolution in data dissemination at DOSM is IDT managed to attract users with 1,132 hits within 3 months compared to the publication with 5,442 hits in 22 months. Moving forward, the same concept as IDT will be used in developing an interactive data in disseminate of 2016 economic census statistic. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosnani. The presentation is basically about reaching out to the users, to the economic communities, to the people, because what we have in the NSO basically is a public goods and should be utilized by everybody. And we are only facilitating these people to have better views and to visualize it, rather than previously the tables is static tables in PDF. Now we have more engagement with the users. Basically, this is not anything, but we are reaching out as much as we can, so that all the money being poured into doing the wholesale and retail census is fully utilized by the public itself. And as we have said, all those things is basically on the visualizations and the business intelligence, which I think every nation can be doing. We just need just a BI and visualization software and a simple storyboard to make it very interactive. Okay, I give the floor. If there are any questions for the two speakers, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question for the Malaysian presentation. I think it was really interesting to see that the process that you went through. In particular, you mentioned about the storyboarding to come up with the ideas of how to present the IDT statistics. And I'm just interested if you could elaborate on the process of how you came up with those storyboards. In particular, was there something where you talked with your users to determine what information would be useful for them? Thank you.
Any more questions on that? Yes?
I have a question, and I have a little bit of long contribution, like 2 minutes, if you allow me. My question, is Tableau software is available for public dissemination, or you use it in internal reporting in the NSO? That was my question. My contribution is the document of Transforming Our World 2030 agenda in paragraph 76. It's specifically mentioning that the strengthening the capacity of national statistical offices and data systems and many more references are given both to national statistical system, the capacity development of national statistical systems. Also in January 2017 in Cape Town, there was a data forum, UN World Data Forum, more than 2,000 participants, I guess. I'm just guessing the number. We're talking about SDGs data, collecting, monitoring and reporting the SDGs data and also disseminating. Also in United Nations Statistical Statistical Commission's 46, 47, 48 meetings, first discussion topic was about SDGs data. Also, United Nations Economic Commission of Europe's roadmap on SDGs is all about these topics: capacity building, increasing the capacity, especially on administrative data, on the quality assurance frameworks, on national account systems. These topics are all related to somehow SDGs, very closely related. But I think that relation has to be mentioned more. And I'd like to contribute specifically on that relations tomorrow at my presentation. I just don't want to steal any more time. What is the importance of SDGs and how that relations are important? I just want to mention very shortly. SDGs are all about monitoring and reporting the country's policy performance per SDGs goals and targets, per 17 goals and 169 targets. So monitoring and reporting is contains accurately measuring and also communicating the measurements, calculations, estimations, etc. But communication is very important about the policy performance. But the main importance is it has to be done at by country-led systems, by national statistical systems. I just wanted to mention this importance of SDGs. Thank you.
I think, yes, madam.
So regarding the dissemination policy, like of course as per SDDS, GDDS and all, we all disseminate data, national accounts and other real sector categories and all. But every NSO has its own dissemination policy. As per the dissemination policy, there are certain restricted categories, there are some categories which are, so what is the trade-off? Like, if the trade-off between maintaining a transparency and quality of data so that the users understand, and on the other hand, then there are certain categories like survey data that you have to maintain some sort of, secrecy or whatever, identity, you can't, reveal the identity of whatever data you have collected from, and, there are some restricted categories and all. So, what would be the trade-off? That is what I was just thinking, like, what should the NSO, what should they, decide on how, what level of, desegregation you can reveal, disseminate the data and so on. That is one question I think we should think about.
Directing the questions to the both speakers or for the...
General, view on the dissemination policy adopted by various NSSOs.
Okay, thank you.
Any comment on?
Any more questions? Yes?
Thank you, Chair. I have two questions. The first, I would like to know the software or tool you do for the visualization on the portal. And the second one, I would like to know the process, how you integrated the data from the operation system to the portal.
Okay. Thank you. I think Ms. Madam Rosnani, please.
Okay, I answer the questions about the tableau. After we develop the system, we publish this interactive data in public tableau. We have a public tableau. So when we publish the report on tableau, once the version may not recover as Idt has been override, the server does not have the concept of history. When we have published, they not have a concept of history, the tableau. This is okay.
In very simple word, it doesn't have, it's based on the user's experience. You make a query on certain matters, it's just for your personal experience, so it does not go within the server. So if everyone here access those things, this is purely your personal experience using those things. This is not cached into the system of the IDT itself, in terms of simpler words of whether it cache into your system. Of course, if you cache 1,000 queries at one time, of course you crash the system. But it's a simple, it does not cache into the system, just your personal experience.
Yes. Okay, for about the storyboard, for our experience, there is challenges to determine the storyboard, but what the story and how to make the user understand the data, that is a challenge. So we must understand, and those for my experience, we undertaken by users who are responsible for wholesale and retail data. So use and the team we develop to make sure the quality, and that team also can be user friendly and easy for user for use. Okay, for the questions, next questions, for IDT, we choose a tableau to develop IDT because the tableau already is very easy to learn. If you don't have experience in about the programming, you can learn the tableau software. With actually my experience, I only attend a 2-day course to understand the tableau, and we must explore. So why we choose tableau? Because tableau is already have the visualize and very easy to create, and they also beautiful and interactive. They have a dashboard. There is already have a interactive and dashboard. Tableau also have the graphic and chart. The design is very beautiful and very smart. And you also can look at the image, infographic, whatever document in Tableau. That is very easy. So that's why for Malaysia experience, we choose to use Tableau, and we want to develop this system in period 1 year.
Ms. Au, for your questions on Myanmar, on the CG.
So in our experience, recent 1 year, new government in Myanmar, so new government's priority area are focused on health and education. So, and we have no, how to say, we have poverty, so we cannot improve health and education sector. So that's why you ask what is important or SDG monitoring. This is depend on our how to say higher government and also a priority issue for to find and to collect. So our minister and our related department find it as a priority issue for SDG data collector monitoring. And also CSO also follow so new government guideline focus on social etc. and also peace. So that's why SDG data is every country has to contest SDG indicator, but every country has different goal for SDG. So that's why our country own goal and own direction different from other country priority area. So thank you. And also I would like to talk about my experience. So what should be and also a level of data dissemination. So in our country, CSO also data quality and accuracy is very important for all of us. So when we collect for experience, my experience, when we collect price collector, so sometimes shopper they don't want to reply price data because of so they thought we are decision on their commodity. So that's why we have to raise awareness for why we collect data, and also every sector also when if we want to data quality, so we have to awareness and we have to meet in with level of data accuracy and quality committee and also in our case and Stds cluster also. So that's why NSO also like CSO also a duty for data accuracy and quality or statistics. Thank you.
Anyone from the floor want to react on the question from Madam from India? Yes, Dr. John.
Very important question, and it's not a question, it's just a comment from Madam, and I'm also commenting in the same manner. So appreciating your comment that dissemination and trade-off and how to manage with the dissemination of data, and whether quality and dissemination should be trade off with each other. Or actually, India has a very powerful system, national statistical system, and similarly, we are also learning with the same phase from the world. The quality is important where the quality can be monitored. But the time aspect is much important in economic data as well. In GDDS, for example, I'm just giving example. In GDDS, the target time is 1.5 months, almost 45 days, that one has to, if qualified for GDDS, one has to upload the quantum index or IIP, right? So IIP, at that time, some data might be matured, some data may not be matured. And the IIP has to be published or disseminated. So for that purpose, we usually sometimes imputing the data or sometimes estimating the data for the rest of the items which data has not been received, but we publish that. And later on, that quantum index, that index can be revised. Similarly for national accounts, while finalizing your GDP, because you are bound for the budget, right? Before budget, you have to finalize it. And the data, the national accounts data is not maturing at that year, even for that 9 months. The data, that's why for national accounts, we are keeping 3 years track. That is provisional, revised, and finalized. So that the 3 years track is for the purpose that wherever there is imputation, wherever there is estimation, that can be refined. So the time factor is much, much important in economics statistics. That's my.
Thank you, Dr. John. I think we are now at 5 o'clock, exactly at 5 o'clock now. I would like to end the session for today, and before I can conclude that, I'd like to bring back the Matthew, the second Matthew, not the first Matthew. He put up a diagram of how the communication. He also said that we statisticians sometimes don't negotiate well, do not communicate well. That is the thing that lies in theme of dissemination and communication here. All things can be talked through and thoroughly put, and what we have is to communicate. And we know that statistics is a public goods, and it should be available as much as it can to the public so that they can utilize, because most of our surveys are being funded thoroughly from the public's money. So that is my take for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fazrul. And thank you to the authors tonight, both here, and for all the authors today. I'd like to make just a few quick announcements. If anyone has lost anything, there is a lost and found just outside in the thing. Apparently we've got a USB there as well to add to the list, if I can see that correctly. And secondly, a polite reminder that we're supposed to not bring any food into this room, nor uncovered drinks. I hope you all have a fantastic night, and I'll see you all tomorrow in this room again at 9 AM. Thank you.